I just have a couple of announcements to make before I introduce Kathleen. I just wanted you to know that for most of you, you know that we're doing a fundraiser with Park Lane Jewelry. They are giving us 50% of all the orders. And this will help our association to be able to advocate, to get some money out there for research. So if you can or want to purchase something from Park Lane, we'll put the address in the chat file for you. And I think Chris is online. If she can do that, that would be great. And also, we just want to tell you that Ellison, our treasurer, has gone through our government process and has been able to get 6 scholarships for medical personnel to be able to go and get training on certified lymphedema therapy. And we're doing this to help all of the people in Alberta with lymphedema, and we're hoping that we get some rural RMTs or medical physicians, whoever qualifies for the scholarship, to help all of the lymphedema patients out in the rural areas. So you can take a look on our website, and again, thank you to Allison for getting that through for us. It's going to make a big difference for a lot of people. So I'm going to introduce Kathleen now and thank her very much for coming on. She's currently the Western Canada sales manager for Juzo, and Kathleen has come out to help us on different places that we've gone to get the word out about lymphedema, and it's very helpful because she can give a lot of information about compression and to the patients or medical personnel that are at the event. She is a certified compression garment fitter, and I think since 1998 in all major brands. And she has a background in home health care and pharmacy operations. She has a lot of information to share with you, and she has relationships with the manufacturers and the fitters and medical people that deal with lymphedema patients. She is also a member of the advocacy team for the BC Association, and we've been talking about getting her on a committee with us to share information about Alberta. So hopefully we can get that going soon. But without further ado, I'd like to let Kathleen take over, and hopefully if there's any questions, you can wait till the end, and then we'll ask them then. So I'll turn it over to Kathleen.
Great. Thank you so much, Diane. I'm very happy to be here. Looks like we have a small, intimate, highly clever group of people. What I wanted to do with you tonight is to talk about fit and function as it applies to compression garments. And as we go through the slide deck, hopefully I'll be able to answer questions. I certainly can answer questions at the end, but I'm really talking about the marriage between what a prescription reads that you might get from a doctor, nurse practitioner, a key prescriber, and how that translates into a garment that can be worn comfortably to help manage the lymphatic limb. So I'm going to do a little share screen here. Pull that one up. There we are. Very good. All right. So fit and function, the purpose of fabric. That's pretty self-explanatory. Juzo is a really lovely company to work for. They are entering into I would say 125 years of operations, or just about 124, I think we are this year. And we're a family-owned company out of Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. And we're a very environmentally conscious little Juzo family. We do a lot of recycling in our manufacturing. We have a wind turbine, which you can see in our little picture. We reuse our water for our dyes and just try to be conscious of, the weight, pun intended, that manufacturing, dyeing, and sewing garments can have on the environment and the world around us, and to lighten that load and do everything we can to make it efficient. Because we're family owned, we like to say that we answer to you and to each other and not corporate shareholders. And that's really, for me, important, because if I have something to say or there's some feedback that's come back to me through a client or a vendor, I'm able to share that openly. And we're a great group for actioning the things that we hear out in the big wide world. Tonight, I would like you to have some questions in mind to evaluate me, not just to sit there and watch passively. Yes, I'm going to use my Juzo garments as the baseline for my presentation. And honestly, having certified in all the major vendors and having done this for many years, I would even jokingly say Juzo is a great baseline place to learn about compression and compression garments, because we carry 12, 13,000 SKUs and options, where the typical vendor or manufacturer would have somewhere between 2,500 and maybe 5,000. So I always say, if it's out there, Juzo probably has a variation of it. And that helps us, because we're going to look at some options that will answer some of these 4 questions. Okay. So phase 1 of lymphedema management post-diagnosis typically involves decongestion. So where I have my therapists on the line here, the products you're seeing up on the screen would be some things that would be familiar to both you and to the clients or to the people here on the webinar. We offer short stretch bandages. We use therapy tape. We use a very specific therapy tape at Juzo that was designed for lymphedema, just to lift the skin in a certain way that other brands such as Kinesio don't do. But that little circle of life there on the left, we're going to look at a couple of products that I would suggest you evaluate. So everyone should be evaluating the short stretch bandage, because a short stretch bandage only works if it's truly short stretch and doesn't stretch out. Therapy tape should be effective, should be lifting so that the lymph can move under the skin and escape, but the tape shouldn't be tight or onerous to wear, and it should come off fairly easily. So those, again, are questions you can ask around those pieces during treatment. Some of the fabrics or products that Juzo offers to help in that treatment are soft compress. So this one comes in a variety of pieces. You'll see in the center of the screen, there's a bandage roll. And this is a product that lays next to the skin and then would be bandaged into place to hold. And up in that upper corner there, you'll see what is a cross section of soft compress. So soft compress is actually foam channels sewn into a garment. And when you sew them and you channel and lay it next to the skin, you'll see on the bottom, it creates a high-low pressure. And that high-low pressure is just so soft and gentle, like dry brushing, that it allows the lymph to leave the limb gently. Soft compress can be worn day or night, really. It's just whether or not you're using it in conjunction with bandaging, or perhaps you're using it under something like, for us, we have a compression wrap. So everyone has a wrap, and it's really not up to you, but a little bit up to you to find the one that works with your limb, your lifestyle. Again, going back to those original questions, your ease of donning and maintenance. So the Juzo wrap, definitely short stretch in elastic material. We say high working pressure properties. So the idea of a high working pressure garment, let me actually, we'll just stay on this page, would mean that it is pushing in all the time and pushing fluid out of the limb so that it can leave the body. Our wrap can be used for reduction and then maintenance. And a wrap, anyone's wrap, typically is cost effective, especially in a reduction stage versus multiple knit garments. So think that you have a very edematous or fluid heavy limb. Well, if we put you in multiple garments, we're going to have to change those garments, possibly weekly or every few weeks, and that's incredibly expensive, even in a province such as Alberta where there is funding. So often a case can be made to use a short stretch wrap that we can just keep snugging up either through a Velcro system like I have, or some have little tabs, or some have a pull through system, and you just keep snugging and tightening as you go along. Some candidates for compression wrap. Definitely people who are in a reduction state, but poor circulation, or someone who wants an alternative to multi-layer bandages. Maybe they're struggling to do their own bandaging, or their caregiver, isn't very good at it. So they're looking for something that will still achieve the effect of multi-layer bandaging, which we call the gold standard in treatment for sure. But people who perhaps also are looking for something that's easier for them to get on and off versus a knitted garment. A regular size and shape, people who live at a distance. So again, rural Alberta comes to mind. So you can't see your therapist for treatment and then bandaging as often as optimal. So perhaps you'll come in, you'll get your treatment, and then you'll go back out, I'll say, to the farm with your wrap garment that you can continue to snug up and manage yourself. All right. At Juzo, we offer a variety of garments in this style. So we do upper extremity, we do a hand wrap, and we do an arm wrap. We do lower extremity, a foot and a calf. And then I have some odds and sods pieces, a knee, a thigh. And then we also offer a hip attachment because the thigh, if we're getting that reduction, can start to open up and slide down the leg. So the hip attachment, just as the name implies, helps keep it up and in place, right? With our wrap, it's adjustable. So we have extensions. We can extend the little strips that you're going to pull across to snug it into place. Everything I have is trimmable. So that makes it great for reduction or irregular shaped legs, because we can get in and around those little pull straps and trim it so that it can be snug to the limb. The more closely the wrap fits the limb, of course, the better the job it's going to be able to do. Right? Easy pull tabs. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if I even needed that slide. All right, reversible. So kind of fun. If you're a fashionable girl or guy, you could wear it beige or black side out. These wraps are eligible for funding in Alberta with the AADL program. And I'm pretty sure AADL doesn't care about the fact that we're fashionable, but the fact that we're reversible will extend the life of the garment, because the Velcro tabs are removable. So you can switch them around, again, beige or black. So be mindful of that if you're going to wear it, that you don't use up all your beige side. All right. Moving into the maintenance phase. So I had my soft compress and my wrap in decongestion or the decongestive phase, but now we're moving into more the heart of my presentation around the garments and the fabrics. All right. So here in the maintenance phase, as you can see in the happy wheel, we started off on the left-hand side using possibly the products from Juzo that you see. And now we're going to swing into maintenance and management. So we're assuming that the limb is at its most reduced state. And now we're just holding the line and keeping things from blowing up, as I always like to say. Juzo offers a wide variety of garments in styles and colors. Absolutely. Anyone who looks at our website or my catalog is usually pretty astonished at the depth and breadth of what we have to offer. And our garments are divided in knitting into two methods. Okay, so we either knit a garment using a circular knit machine or a flat knit machine. So on the left side, that's a circular knit machine, and the top of it, which is kind of a cone. But if you were standing over it and looking down in, it looks to me like looking into a tornado. So if it's a lower extremity, let's say the bottom of the tornado would be the toe, up the foot, and then to the finish at the calf or the thigh. When you look at a circular knit garment, it does not seem to have a visible seam. So there's no fishnet stocking, can dance, or seam up the back of the leg. The only place you're going to see seams on a circular knit garment would be either across the front of the toe box or up at the top, the finish of the garment where we put a band. So we change direction to knit a band. Right? On the right-hand side, I have a flat knit machine. And flat knit is, well, it's like knitting a giant Persian rug. That's, or an old-fashioned loom. If you've ever watched Little House on the Prairie and we have someone knitting a tapestry or making a loom rug, the clickety-clack, it's going back and forth. And the advantage to the flat knit machine is that well, think of the largest rug you've ever seen and what kind of a machine that would have had to be on. So we always say with flat knit, any shape, any size within some parameters, but you have to have the knitting machine that can handle the size that you're asking for. But it does allow us to knit garments for larger limbs or irregularly shaped limbs. And we're going to come swinging back to flat knit shortly. But first up, we're going to talk about circular knit fabrics. So, circular knit fabrics, seamless, as I said. Sometimes they are sheer or highly breathable fabrics. They might be opaque. They're known for their two-way stretch, so stretch for donning and doffing. And typically, they fall into standard sizes. So if you're being measured for, let's say, an arm sleeve, standard size chart would take a measurement at the wrist, at the elbow, at the axilla or armpit, and then we would take a length measurement. And then we take those 4 measurements and we drop you into a fancy little chart and label you size A, B, C, D, E for some manufacturers, or for us, we use the Roman numerals 1 through 6, right? But those sizes are typically standard. Now, Juzo is an exception because we are also able to do custom or made to measure garments, which traditionally have been associated with flat knit fabrics. But please do not forget that there might be an opportunity where you would like to have one of the fabrics I'm about to show you in something that needs to be knit custom to your shape, because your shape doesn't fall into that standard little chart. Okay. Probably the most popular fabric in the world is soft, and soft is an opaque circular knit. Think of Lululemon leggings, or my lady in the picture, her arm sleeve is knit with soft fabric. Soft's claim to fame is that it has incredible stretch properties for donning and doffing. So it has stretch for yanking that baby on, and it has great stretch for doing the banana peel and sliding it off. It's very forgiving. It's nice for people with arthritis or who are struggling to slide garments on and off. And it comes in a variety for us, colors, prints. We do something called max sizing, which I'll talk about a little bit farther down the line, but soft fabric, just very versatile, lots of opportunities with it. What I do say about soft though, looking up at the top of the slide, I recommend it for stage 1 lymphedema, for compression levels 15 to 20, so prophylactic. Perhaps it's a travel sleeve when you're getting on a plane or you're going to take a trip through the mountains down to Vancouver and your elevation is going to change on the drive. And 20 to 30 millimeters of mercury pressure. So that first level medical in a circular knit, I call it the magic reimbursement stage of life, but where we're looking for more containment, reimbursement for funding, and well, I'll say it again, more containment. Soft fabric, though, needs to follow what I call a mostly anatomical shape limb. So my lady in the picture is a great example. Her wrist is clearly smaller than her elbow, and her elbow is clearly smaller than her axilla or her armpit. All right, so we're looking for that gradual limb shape. I can take someone who has what I have, which is the fancy bingo arm, and put a little more tissue in at the top of the garment using the max sizing option. So max allows us to max it out. And again, where the limb takes off a little at the top, more like a martini glass, shall we say, we can still use the soft fabric 15 to 20, 20 to 30. It is available in 30 to 40, but I just feel that for my clients with lymphedema versus vascular disease, that I don't have the containment towards the end of the day. And I feel that that's where the feedback comes back. Well, it was all right, but my wrist was a little puffy at the end of the day, or I could see fluid was going back into my hand at the end of the day, or I started to feel heavy, right? So those are all triggers for me in my mind that this is a fabric that above 20 to 30, maybe you would wear soft on a special occasion, but generally, I don't think it's the fabric in that upper range of compression, if that makes sense. Okay. Fabric that, other pieces to it, but fabric that I do think has that better containment in a circular knit is our Juzo dynamic. So this is where I'm looking at stage 1, stage 2 lymphedema, those ranges of compression, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. All right. So we call it moderate to firm compression. And that statement is relative because you have to hold those fabrics up, against other fabrics that you're considering, against the anatomy of you, the lifestyle of you, and the what you want to achieve, right? Circling back to those original questions. But the dynamic fabric for us, we say that it has the stretch for donning and doffing, but it has that horizontal rigor for containment. For me personally, this is my trade show sock. If I'm wearing socks, thigh highs for a trade show day, because I'm standing in one place, I don't have any movement going on. I'm not working that calf muscle pump, the second heart there. I'm just standing answering questions. And if I go with the soft fabric, I find towards 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, my ankles are starting to feel a little bit puffy, and my thighs, the top of my thighs, are starting to tingle or ache because I just didn't have the circulation going on that I needed. All right. But again, circular fabric falls into our sizing chart. So ready to wear sizing, and ready to wear or off the shelf, all those words used interchangeably really just mean that you fall into inventory that is pre-made, ready to go, and less expensive, to be honest. So a good fitter will always try to keep you, in a knit and working with your compression level that's been prescribed, but keep you in a knit that hopefully will fall into that chart so that you can get garments faster and the expense or out of pocket isn't quite as high. And for us at Juzo, that max sizing option really helps a lot of people not have to move to custom, right? So if we go back or we look at the lady here with the arm, she's possibly a max sizing, she's got a fairly traditional, shall we say, wrist size. Her elbow, again, looks proportional, wrist to elbow, but then all of a sudden up there at the shoulder or the axilla, you can see that, a lot more tissue, a little bit more pronounced. But for her, she would fit into a max sizing. So she would get her arm sleeve quickly and again, would keep the costs more reasonable. Not that any of this is cheap, I'm sorry to say, but would keep it within reason. All right. The Move fabric from Juzo is what I'm going to call our latest and greatest. The Move fabric for us, again, stage 1, 2 lymphedema, those 20 to 30, 30 to 40 ranges, moderate to firm compression. So for me, it mimics the buttery soft microfiber that we have in the soft. Anti-odor, it has anti-odor properties. The microfiber is very nice, very popular with people with lipedema. People with lipedema find sometimes that a soft opaque or that leggings type material that many of the manufacturers offer is not enough. For me, the feedback on the dynamic is that the rigor of the dynamic can feel a little rough against the skin to a lipedema client, remembering, highly sensitive, pain is everything with this crowd. So the touch override pain feel of the microfiber of the move has made it very popular. So the stretch for donning, the feel of the soft, but we'll say ramped up a notch, but that containment of the dynamic. Again, the max sizing is available in this particular fabric, and we do a VY heel standard. So that really helps to prevent the bunching at the crease of the foot. And it has a bidirectional knit, which I don't have a close-up photo of yet, so you'll just have to come over to my house and see it. But the knit changes direction across the instep, which makes it very nice to place that properly knitted heel into its proper spot and then carry on pulling the garment up the rest of the leg. So for my vendors, if they're only going to, if they want to have people leave with socks, that day, right? You come in with your AADL paperwork or what have you, and you need to leave with a pair that day. The move really marries the best of both worlds, because whether I know you can get your stockings on easily or not, and you're, someone who would need the soft, or whether you're someone who needs more containment because you've got a little bit more going on with that limb, I can give you the containment of the dynamic, but it's going to feel soft and gentle, but do the work. So for us, it's a real miracle product. Yep. And that's about as salesy as I'm going to get this evening. All right. So circling back to flat knits. So in that circular knit, I had the 3 choices. In the flat knit fabric, Juzo offers 2. So the claim to fame for flat knit fabrics traditionally have been custom. They've been able to accommodate any shape, any size. If you've ever watched the TLC show, My Big Leg, My 1,000-Pound Life, where the people on those shows are being fitted with compression, those are all Juzo garments, and they're all being done by Cindy Anderson of Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, who's been with our company, just over 25 years now. So you'll see Cindy's hands on the television, but she doesn't want to be filmed, so no paparazzi there. But we do any shape, any size. They are garments that have a visible seam. Now that seam is flat and diabetic friendly, but it is a visible little run or visual down the garment, right? Dense. Typically, we think of flat knit fabrics as being dense, and absolutely they are, because they provide excellent therapeutic results. The containment of a flat knit fabric supersedes anything that's being done in a circular knit, and their closest competitor would be circling way back to my compression wrap that I showed you at the beginning of the presentation. Okay. For us at Juzo, this is an example. Actually, I think I have this one in my sample bag. So this is a glove. And on the left, you see this is how it was knit and then trimmed coming off the loom. That little stringy piece on the left is actually going in between the fingers. So when you look over on the right-hand side there, the 2 sides have come together. We've married them and then sewn up and in between the fingers with that little strip of fabric. And that's how we would make a flat knit glove. All right. In my flat knits, again, as I mentioned, 2 fabrics. So expert, any shape, any size. Its claim to fame is it has a waffle weave, and that allows maximum airflow. All right. So if you took an expert fabric piece, or you zoom in on that one there, you can see the waffly weave of it all going back and forth together for that airflow. Also, something that's very nice for the Juzo garments is the elastomer that provides the compression in all of my garments is a man-made elastomer. It's not natural rubber. So natural rubber holds heat. So any garments made with natural rubber are going to be hot. When you use a man-made elastomer, like us, Lululemon, those of us who are providing those kinds of garments, when it's man-made from the Lycra company, it's going to be cooler. So the waffle weave, the 100% hypoallergenic man-made elastomer, those all make these garments very tolerable to wear. For us, Juzo knits everything. So we do head, neck, torso with arm sleeves, torso with open necklines, zippers, like ta-da, head to toe. It's us. All right. And we do offer our expert in our trend colors. So every year we offer colors from New York Fashion Week. This year we have some moonstone gray and amethyst purple and some nice blues. And that just allows people who want to take it up a notch from beige and black to be trendier. All right. The other fabric we offer in the flat knit is called Strong. And as you can see from the stages of lymphedema that are listed there and the compression levels, again, we're not very fancy with our names. Soft is soft. Dynamic still allows you to move, but gives you great containment. Move is move. Expert, because we believe we're the experts in flat knit garments, and Strong. So the strongest containment. The second line there says micro massaging. So if you had a strong garment in your hand and you ran your hand down inside the garment and closed your eyes and circled your fingers around, it should feel faintly gritty. And we want it to be faintly gritty because what that micro massaging patented knit does is it breaks up fibrotic tissue. It gently encourages circulation, so to prevent cellulitis, help oxygenate the skin, and again, break up the fibrotic tissue and get it out of there. Also available in colors. Now, again, my lady there is wearing black because, you know, black photographs pretty well, but we do have colors to offer in the Strong as well. With us at Juzo, we offer a lot of options. So options will also make your garments either easier to don and doff or more tolerable to wear. We knit with cotton. So cotton, hypoallergenic, breathable. We know it controls moisture. We find it, you know, very gentle against the skin, very soothing. Silver has been used in wound care, well, dating back, recorded to the time of the Egyptians, still used definitely in wound clinics and hospitals today. And it has some lovely properties. So antimicrobial, it dissipates heat. So again, people who are looking for a cooler garment, the silver is often a great option for them. And down between the toes, odor absorbing and antimicrobial all working together. For someone who has had recurring bouts of cellulitis, silver cannot come highly recommended enough for their next garment. All right. And all the fabrics that I've showed you have a silver knit option. So my soft can come with a soft silver option, the dynamic, the expert, the Strong. Just my move doesn't have a silver option at this time. All right. We're also known for our prosthetic shrinkers for amputees. And if you didn't know this, silver inhibits phantom pain. So my favorite trick is to get my cell phone to ring inside a shrinker, or have you call my cell phone inside a shrinker and it won't ring because the silver is inhibiting the waves, again, that trigger phantom pain for someone who's had an amputation. We do zippers and patches and all kinds of stuff. So again, a company that just tries to bring as many options to the table for donning, for doffing, for comfort, and then just garments that no one else is knitting at this point in time, but that still have a place, right? I don't do a lot of face neck masks in Western Canada, maybe 6 to 12 a year across my 3 provinces. But we do them and we do them very well. Again, some of the things I touched on before. So we're latex free. We have that great 2-way stretch. FiberSoft technology is something you will only find in proper compression garments from proper compression garment companies. Okay. Tommy Copper is not doing FiberSoft. Amazon flavor of the week vendors are not doing FiberSoft. And what FiberSoft means is the elastomer, so that kind of sausage piece you see in the middle, is double covered with the fiber that's going to lay next to your skin. And that's what gives longevity to a garment because the elastomer is protected. It isn't going to snap. That's what helps provide the gradient compression in a garment. So where the maximum amount of pressure is at the lowest part of the limb or the smallest part of the limb, the wrist or the ankle being the examples. And it makes the garment cooler to wear because if you had rubber or even latex lying next to your skin with only a single covered fiber, you're going to notice that. For us at Juzo, all of our products are machine washable and dryer recommended. And the reason why is that the dryer, the heat of the dryer resets our elastomers back to zero so you can go at it again. So I recommend washing your garment. Well, they say have one to wash and one to wear every day. But if that's not feasible, I say get it in the washing machine or wash it at least every 3 days and make sure it hits the dryer for at least 10 to 15 minutes before you wear it. All right, so circling back to the questions. The weave and the weft, the fabric does the work, right? And a properly knitted fabric will hold you. It will match with the compression level. And often I find that we're able to take clients down a prescription level because we're using fabrics that have the containment to hold them. And that gives us somewhere to move as the person ages or the disease state advances. If I had everyone in the 30 to 40 right out of the gate, what are we going to do when the day comes when the 30 to 40 just doesn't hold you anymore? Are we going to have to go back to bandaging daily? I don't know anyone who can afford bandaging daily. Are we going to go to compression wraps? Well, I mean, I like my wrap a lot, but I'm not sure I'd want to be fully encased in my wrap 24/7. Comfort while wearing, am I able to last the day? Do I find this garment or this fabric to be irritating, or is it causing irritation? Is it causing redness or sore points? Can I put it on and take it off, myself? Can I do it, or can I do it with a stocking donner or arm sleeve? How easy is it for me to do? Because that translates, well, all these things translate into compliance, right? If I don't mind it, I'm not going to say everyone's going to enjoy it. I work for a compression company, but I'm not a lunatic. Can I wear it? Can I tolerate it? Can I do it myself? And does it seem to be helping my condition and not giving me, things that irritate the condition? Because I want compliance from everyone that has to wear compression garments. And lastly, ease of care. Sure. Am I washing it as often as recommended? And is maintenance easy for me or cumbersome? Because again, that will lead to compliance. If it's a big old hassle to be hand washing and laying things out to dry or rolling them in a towel and hoping they're dry, because we certainly don't want to put wet garments next to the skin when it's time to put them back on. But if I can make it easy, I'm more likely to do it. And whether that's compression garments or life, I think that's probably a truism. All right. Oh, look at that. We're at the end. Okay, so this is me and my phone number and my email, and you are all always welcome to phone or email me. I'm a pretty chatty Kathy, and I do love to talk, and I do love to help if I can. And here comes my chatty cat. I don't know if you can hear my cat, but Magic the cat will probably jump up on the desk here in a second and cruise by the screen. All right, I'm gonna go back here and stop the sharing.
Oh,
Back to Diane. Yeah, wake up, Diane. Kathleen's done.
that's a great presentation. I've learned quite a bit tonight, which is unusual because usually when you're you're having presentations a lot, you kind of go, okay, heard that. But the part I liked was that your sleeves and stockings can be put in a washer and put in a dryer, because that's not how I have my garments. I have to wash them by hand and dry them. So that's great for Juzo to have that, that's for sure. I think there's a couple of questions here. Now, it's from Mark, and if Mark wants to come on to talk to Kathleen, you just unmute yourself, or I can ask the question, whichever everyone prefers. So,
Oh, hi, Kathleen. My name's actually Kaylee. Sorry, Mark is my husband.
it's okay.
I was just wondering your Juzo Move stockings. They don't come in a petite size yet. Do you know approximately when that might be available?
Oh, you're as hopeful as I am, you know. Um, so what is happening in the world? I'm going to give you the long answer because it's the long answer. So raw materials, right, have been controlling what all the manufacturers are able to do or not do. So at Juzo, we're family owned, and we usually have, I'll say, a year's worth of raw materials. And the pandemic even got us down to, you know, oh, probably a couple of months, which is enough to send the lady who owns my company into fits. The Move, however, is the number one selling sock in Europe. And so we brought it to North America about a year and a half ago, and we've been working with it. So we've been expanding the line. At first, we just had the knee highs. Now we have the thigh highs. We'll have panty by the summer, and we'll probably add it to my custom circular knit lineup. Other products in the soft range and the dynamic range that offer petite or petite in all the colors, some of those things are going to go away in the next few months. Not that we'll discontinue petite, it just means we won't hold the stock like we do. Like, we're a company that knits and holds the stock in a warehouse the size of a barn. Okay. So we're going to take away some of those things so that we free up our raw materials, right? Our elastomers, our fibers, to improve the lines that are emerging. So the Move being an emerging line, I feel that it will replace or it will join the soft in that petite option. Do I see it much before December of this year or even early 2024? I've got to say I do not. I do not.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's again, it's our latest and greatest, and it's living up to the hype. So that's where, you know, our time and effort will go in the future.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jennifer has a question, which is one of the questions I was going to ask. So Jennifer, if you want to come off mute and ask Kathleen the question, or I can ask, whichever you prefer.
Come on, Jennifer, you can do it.
Okay, I will ask because I wanted to know as well. The best places in Calgary to get garments fitted.
Okay. So I do have a dealer list for Calgary, and it goes by quadrant. So in all 4 quadrants, Calgary Home Healthcare has locations, and they have at least 2 or 3 fitters on staff all the time. But if you would prefer to support a more local vendor or independent vendor, then I would do it like this. In Varsity, I would go to Staywell Medical. Down in the deep south, Seaton's Remedies RX. You could go down and see Linda down there. CB Medical also in the southeast, but they are more by appointment because they're in an industrial area, but certainly very knowledgeable, and they spend a lot of their time in the clinics and cancer centers and long-term care doing their measuring. And then if arm sleeves and gauntlets and the prints and the trend colors are your thing, then the ladies at Compassionate Beauty over Richmond Road. So Compassionate Beauty does, you know, wigs, swimsuits, things for women with breast cancer. They're also a Juzo vendor. And if you want a more boutique experience, that would be a fun place to go.
Okay, great. So also for anybody on the call here, you can also go to the Alberta Aids to Daily Living site. It's on our website, and they will show you all of the names of fitters and who are authorized, so that if you're going to go through AADL, then you can use those fitters. So that's the best way to do it. If you want to know where you can specifically get Juzo products, then I would email Kathleen, and she'd be able to tell you that for sure.
I certainly would.
What would be the best locations in Edmonton area?
Yeah, so in Edmonton, Strathcona Healthcare in the south, Congdon's Aids to Daily Living in the north, and the Home Health Store with Alexis over north. Well, I think it says northwest, but I feel she's more northeast. But definitely anchoring Strathcona Healthcare in the bottom with Sharon, and Congdon's up in the northwest, because they always have fitters in the store. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there any other questions out there? If you want to put them into chat, I can ask, or if you want to come off mute and you can ask.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can you not get fitted by the person who's doing your lymphatic drainage or that kind of massage work?
That's a great question, Sharon. The answer is yes and no. So not every therapist wants to take the fitter training and add that to their practice, right? Many just want to focus on the lymphatic drainage, massage therapy. That's their preference. But I certainly do have therapists who also offer Juzo garments, or who are fitters or have been trained by me to be fitters. Either sometimes because there's just a lack of service in their community, or because they have a real interest in following the process right through to the end, right? That they do the work of the lymphatic drainage, and they don't want you to leave unless they know either A, you're going straight to somebody who knows what they're doing, or they'll hold that themselves and make sure that they get you looked after. So yeah, I do have accounts, if you will, that are therapists who are also Juzo vendors.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, Kathy. This is Dion here.
Hi, Dion.
How are you?
Very well.
Hey, so,
yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Just to link into that question. Yeah, no, but the literature tells us that, most of the long-term management for lymph volume is really with compression therapy. Obviously, lymph massage is a wonderful adjunct that people can use intermittently when things are difficult. They need to kind of reset to get ready to fit back into a garment. But certainly one without the other is not usually ideal. Again, compression therapy is obviously the most cost-efficient and the preferred way, and often the most effective way to manage things, and more self-managed way to do it. But certainly, yeah, the therapist seems to do a bit of both depending on their background and training. And so it's just good to ask your therapist, and I'm sure Diane has a list of folks with their levels of expertise and to focus for in terms of their practice. But yeah, so certainly a whole lot of lymph drainage is not going to come close to doing very consistent compression management. And I think one with the other is probably more compression than anything else would be probably the best. And I just quickly wanted to check, but the dryer setting now, I'm very careful with dryers and delicate fabric. I usually offer to my clients, because some of them are worried, particularly with gloves, they take longer to dry overnight, that maybe a low setting. Is there some guidance on the level of heat? Because the dryer settings can be very gentle or harsh on fabric. Can you maybe clarify that, please?
Sure thing, I can. So to the first one, I'll say in Alberta, I have less therapists who are also vendors. And that's just because I believe it's a reflection of the funding that's available in Alberta, that we have stores that are willing to train and learn and be experts because they directly financially benefit from carrying compression. Okay, so that's just a fact. I have more therapists who are also Juzo fitters in British Columbia, where there is no funding, and they just want to make sure that the people are looked after. And I also have less vendors. So that's a quirky commentary. On the washing and drying. So washing, we would say paraben-free. There's a new Samsung washing machine right now that has like a little drawer piece that pulls out that you can, it's called the lingerie washer. I mean, that would be optimal if you're feeling like a big investment. But I say put them in a laundry bag, because you don't want your compression garments coming stuck up against the Velcro of somebody's, jockey shorts there. That's just good garment maintenance. And then over to the dryer, optimally low heat, the lower the better. But frankly, my garments are very popular in long-term care and seniors residences. And we all know perfectly well that's high heat wash and that's high heat dry. And my garments come out just fine. So like everything, if you take a little care with it, or you have the time and ability to control your heat setting, sure, go for a half an hour on low. But if time doesn't permit, or the environment doesn't permit for the wearer, then we go with what we have.
Great, thanks. That's good information. I have another question. What are some of the signs and symptoms of an ill-fitting garment?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my presentation might have to go to 45 minutes. Okay. So no, I mean like in total. So signs and symptoms of an ill-fitting garment. So in an upper extremity garment, it comes off and it's red around the wrist and the hand is puffier than when you started in the day, right? That's a sure sign of an ill-fitting garment. Or possibly the need to add a gauntlet or a glove. It can be both. Heaviness of the limb is always a telltale. If you can't get past 6 hours in the day and that arm feels like it weighs 2 sacks of potatoes, that tells me the garment probably doesn't have the push. The material doesn't have the efficacy to get the fluid up and out the door, right? Out the door. Redness or irritation of a silicone band. So that can go both ways. Sometimes the silicone band isn't wide enough. Sometimes the silicone band will leave a red mark, not a Juzo typically, but that, I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, has nothing to do with the garment, except in the cases where the silicone being used is of poor quality. All right, so that will leave very red, fiery marks. So poor quality silicone, that's something to watch for. But your own alkalinity plays into it as well. And it's very hard for me to tell you that you're a little too spicy. All right. But my comeback for that is take a half a cup of vinegar and soak the silicone band garment for overnight, 3 or 4 hours, at least an hour. But if you leave it overnight, you're not going to hurt it. And what that does is vinegar is neutral, right? So no one is allergic to vinegar. We can all, douse ourselves in vinegar, like bacon to men, vinegar for the ladies. And then it gets into the silicone and takes away, when a silicone band is stamped, right? It's a stamp or a push. And sometimes there is liquid residue left around each little bubble that makes up your silicone band or your wavy design if you got the fancy pantyhose kind. So the vinegar will absorb away the excess liquid, and that helps. But when you rinse it out, there is still going to be some vinegar in that band, and that's okay, because when it comes back against your spicy self there, it'll help neutralize the area over time and make it more tolerable to wear. Other signs of a poor fitting garment can be rolling, sliding, right? That means either you weren't sized correctly, or sometimes it means we're getting the edema out of the limb so effectively, that it's dropping in the course of a day or two. That's a good sign. So for me at Juzo, if I did what we would call a made to measure or a custom lymphedema garment, and you were sliding or dropping, please tell your fitter as soon as possible, because we will do a no charge remake within 14 days, right? So we will redo the garment, get it snugged up, and hopefully, that second one will have you at your true ground zero, which is really the point you should have been measured at the first place. But some people's legs are very sneaky and some people's arms are very sneaky. And we think we're at ground zero, that, you've had the therapy, that there's no more left to give. So let's slap a garment on it. And then y'all want to surprise us and, squeeze out a few more ounces. Well, good. Don't keep it a secret. Let us fix that so that the garment you end with is the garment you should be wearing for your next 6 months, right? Mm-hmm.
Excellent. That's good to know about the 14 days for some people, because I know that our vice president at at the time. A couple years ago, she had a garment that was custom made, and she got it and it didn't even fit. Like even the fitter went, well, something's wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
and it could be that she was doing treatment and it just went down, her leg went down. So good to hear
Right.
about the 14 days with Juzo. So
And
that's great.
there's no limit on that. So I will do that over and over again until we get a garment that fits. And I say to the fitters, as I will say to all of you, compression garments are an art and a science, right? We do the science of taking the measurements, and then it's the art of the fitting. And maybe you ate salty potato chips, or the wind's blowing westerly today, or the weather's just hot and heavy. Like, all those things that we talk about that affect the lymphedema or the lymphatic condition affect you when you go to get your garment. If we had to wait too long, so we're, as a company, getting much faster on getting those garments out to people, because the longer we wait, the greater our chances that there's been a size change. So if there's been time, if the time lag has been more than 2 weeks, I want you to chirp up and say, hey, you know what? This isn't working.
Okay, any other questions from anyone? Okay, then, so thank you very much for coming on to this great presentation. And don't forget, tell your friends about our fundraiser and also about our new sponsorship for anyone that's trying to become a certified lymphedema therapist, because as you know, we all need to get more therapists out there to help our patients in Alberta. So Kathlene, thank you so much. This has been a great presentation, and hopefully we will get lots of people if they need to contact you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that you'll let them. So
Absolutely.
thanks again for coming on, people, and we'll see you soon.